You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favorite songs.
Welcome to episode 168 of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me is Nick. Nick, how's it going?
It's going well. This was my last week of school. For now, but for the foreseeable future. So very excited about that. And I'm obviously in a great mood. It feels great to be off.
Now, do you have a bit of a cold? I hear something in your voice.
Yeah, just a bit of a cold, a bit under the weather, but we're on the mend.
You're doing okay?
Doing okay, yeah.
Okay, that's good. And you're off to your trip. Is it next week you're off to your trip?
Yeah, May 2nd we leave for our East Coast road trip. My dad and I going from Toronto, where we are, all the way to Nova Scotia, PEI, and back.
All right. I would suggest you control the music. Just saying.
I've already been instructed to download a few albums.
Okay.
Which I will download, but it'll be an equitable process, I'm sure.
I'm just saying, do we need more Honeymoon Suite at all at this point?
I've heard a lot of Honeymoon Suite, yeah.
I know he's a big Honeymoon Suite fan, and that's fine. But it's had its time, I think.
Yeah. Well, you tell my father that. How's
okay. That? No problem. I'm sure he doesn't listen to this podcast, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
I'll send him a note. Cool. And yeah, that'll be fun. Like I said, I haven't been in that area, since I was a kid in PEI in New Brunswick. Montreal I've been an adult a couple times in Montreal, but last time I was in PEI, I was a child. So I hope you have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be really good. I'm excited to try some seafood and see a lot of great sights. And yeah. Did
you say you're going to Nova Scotia as well?
Yes. Yeah, we are.
Okay. Is that where Peggy's Cove is? Is that where you're going?
I think Peggy's Cove is in Nova Scotia, yeah.
Yeah. So Peggy's Cove looks beautiful. I think it is in Nova Scotia too. So it looks beautiful. Hope you guys spend a little bit of time there and check that out.
Yeah. It should be good. I will, of course, report back after the trip with a quick summary of everything we did and saw.
Nice. And your Easter was good?
Yeah, Easter was good. Saw the family, nice and relaxing, had some good food. So, yeah, all is well.
All right. Sounds good. Let's get into some music. I'm going first this week, and we're going to listen to another miserable song by a fantastic band called Nirvana, and we're going to listen to Lithium, which is off the album Nevermind, which came out in 1991. And again, I asked the question earlier on, why is Gen X so miserable? We're trying to figure it out. Here's another miserable song from a lovely band. Darren, just hit play.
I'm so happy, 'cause today found my friends are in my head. I'm so ugly, that's okay, 'cause so are you. Book on mirrors, Sunday morning is every day for all I care.
Okay, Nick, had you ever heard Lithium before, and what were your thoughts?
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is one of my favorite. I'd say this is probably my favorite Nirvana album. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I've heard the song tons of times. Fantastic. Really, really good. This is, I think, on the upper half of the album for me, like in terms of songs I like. Like, I really enjoy this one. So, it's great. It's Nirvana doing what they do best, right? At the end of the day.
It's exactly right. And there's something really interesting on this song specifically. This song is very much Dave Grohl specific. They've tried to record this song on their first sort of EP called Bleach, and they could never get it right. It took Dave Grohl to come along as the new drummer, who, as we said in the previous podcast, started doing this disco drum beats to Smells Like Teen Spirit, and this song specifically too, where the band were able to perform the song the way they had it in their heads. And to do that, what he had to do was listen to a click track. So do you know what a click track is for drummers?
Yeah, they have that in their monitors, and it's like a metronome.
Just to keep them on beat. So he had to, this is the only song that Dave Grohl had a click track for on Nevermind. I think he used it later on on other albums and his solo stuff. So this is when he used a click track just so they could record the song well, because they had given up on the song and weren't going to release it on this album until Dave Grohl came along and actually set it up where they could play this song. It's a fantastic song, one of my favorite Nirvana songs.
Thank God Dave Grohl relented and decided to use a click track, because it's a great song. The drums are obviously fantastic, but for me, like, what really does it is just the chorus. Like the chorus of the song is so good, so iconic, so easy to sing along to, and it's so cathartic, right? Like I said, the song is Nirvana doing what Nirvana does best, and I think to really sum that up is Nirvana is a band about catharsis and the release of emotions, whatever those may be. And this song is another in a long line of examples of them doing that. Yeah, at least how I see it.
Yeah. Kurt Cobain explained that this song was a fictionalized account of a man who turned to religion as a last resort to keep himself alive after the death of his girlfriend, sort of to keep himself from committing suicide, which is quite ironic because Nirvana lead singer Kurt Cobain did commit suicide in 1994. So he obviously had a lot of deep, dark problems prior to this album. And, you know, it's self-evident that Nirvana was such a dark band because Kurt Cobain had a lot of issues. Now, do you know a lot of his medical issues that he was having? Have you heard about any of those?
Oh yeah, I've read a lot about his stuff, like all the gut issues he had, really just chronic pain, and it's that is so debilitating. Like I see it a lot in my patients, of course. It's just so it just ruins everything.
Yeah, undiagnosed, as far as I know, they never could find out a cure or find out what the symptoms were. Or I guess they knew what the symptoms were, but they never could figure what the ailment was to his gut issues. And he suffered gut issues for a long time. And since 1992, or 1994 when he committed suicide, we know a lot more about gut biome and how that affects everything from obesity. You know, there's even could be links to autism with gut biome. You know, we know so much more, but at the same time, we know almost nothing about gut biome. Now, you're in the medical field. I am not. I'm just going by what I've heard. Can you expound on that? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, you're right. We know so much more about the importance of the gut microbiome, but relatively, we don't really know much at all yet. We know that it's there, and it's made up of all the different colonies of bacteria, and these can influence processes throughout the body. To what extent, we're not 100% sure. To what relevance and impact that has for our health globally, we're not really sure. And, you know, how effective are we at doing things like, say, changing our gut microbiome through like diet changes or probiotics? Like, even that, like, there's not a lot of great like long-term studies behind stuff like that. But it's a major topic of interest. Like when I was doing my undergraduate degree in biomedical science, we had one project that was just every student had to do research into something related to the gut microbiome. Every student in the program, like they really wanted us to drive a lot of the research there. So it's a huge topic.
So interesting. I watched a documentary on Netflix about biohackers. And there was this one woman who suffered a lot of anxiety, a lot of skin problems, and she took it upon herself to collect the feces of her brother, I think it was, who didn't have those issues. And she would ingest his feces in a pill form once a week or whatever, how many times she was. And she, again, was it a placebo? Did it actually work? Now, there is a lot of studies being done with fecal matter transfers. I think that's what it's called, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things this woman was doing to try to cure her issues. And again, whether it's a placebo, whether it actually did work, you know, I'll leave that up to the experts. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening in that sort of vein. Yeah,
very interesting. And it makes the interesting point, like if Kurt Cobain were, born 20, 30 years later, maybe there would have been some more advanced like treatments for the stuff that he was experiencing. Yeah. So yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. One of the other things, getting back to the song, one of the other things I found really interesting doing research into the song was that in 1992, MTV were doing their Video Music Awards, and they asked Nirvana to play Smells Like Teen Spirit. They didn't want to play Smells Like Teen Spirit. They wanted to play another song they had, which was called Rape Me. And as you can understand, MTV were a little hesitant and didn't want them to play that song. So as a compromise, they played Lithium instead. And the reason why Nirvana said they made a compromise is because they didn't want MTV to boycott other acts on their label, maybe smaller bands that were coming up on their label. So they didn't want MTV to take out any, reciprocal tariffs, if I may use a term that's quite high in the political vein right now. So they did Lithium on the 1992 MTV Music Awards, and which I saw live in 1992. Great version. If you want to see what it's like, just go on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Great version of Lithium on that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to check that out for sure, because great song. And I can see the energy when they play this live being really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's simplistic, right? For sure.
Yes.
It's simplistic. It's easy to sing along to. And it also is just, it bangs. Like, it's a banger of a song. So
it's a great song.
I got to look that up.
This is another really good indication of what Nirvana was doing in the digital era. So this is the time where CDs were taken over from vinyl. And what did Nirvana do really well? They went from a very low sound to a very hard high sound, which really transferred well into CDs, into digital sound. So Nirvana really was a great digital sound coming at the right time. So they just hit at the perfect time for their particular sound. If they had come out in the 80s, they might have been successful, but maybe not to the level they were at this point, because they were everywhere. They knocked Michael Jackson off the charts. They knocked U2 off the charts. Nevermind came out of nowhere. Like, no one saw this coming. This was like a shot, like, a thunderbolt out of the blue. It was that unexpected.
So do you think their success was just due to a really good combination of the music being good, the music being marketed well, and people resonating with the themes?
Yeah. You have to look at what was happening in 1990. And we've talked about this before, where 1990 was a soulless year for music. This is when you had, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, Boys to Men. They were dominating the charts. There was no angst. There was no darkness in music. It was around, but again, it was on the peripheral. So when this song came out, it just exploded, and everything was just bubbling under the lid. You had Soundgarden, you had Pearl Jam, you had Smashing Pumpkins. As much as I don't like them, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were coming around. U2 released Achtung Baby, which is a very grungy sounding album in a lot of ways. So this movement was coming. It couldn't have not come. The music was so boring. When Vanilla Ice is a top selling act, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so it was just that perfect storm of people craving exactly what Nirvana were selling.
Yeah, they
had the customers, or the demographic, perfectly where they wanted them.
Yeah, and who did Nirvana knock off the charts? As I mentioned, Michael Jackson and U2 and those bands, but also hair metal. Hair metal was what was dominating rock and roll. And this grunge movement just took out the Motley Crues and the Poisons and those bands for years. They just disappeared and did not get the same attention as they were getting in the late 80s and before Nirvana came along. So they wiped out a lot of really bad music. So it was much needed.
Yeah. So it sounds like you sort of view Nirvana as like the savior. Nirvana came and absolved all of the music industry sins and then died for it.
It was sort of how the Beatles sort of came out and just were the right band at the right time. I totally think Nirvana was the right band at the right time. And there's been a few of those bands, like the Beatles were that band, Nirvana was that band. I would say the Ramones or the Sex Pistols could have been that band that really sort of pushed music on. There are these bands that just come out and just come out of nowhere. And, you look at a band like U2. U2 weren't that band. U2, they grinded for years to become a popular band. They did not come out of the gates like Nirvana did. So they needed years where Nirvana had the right sound at the perfect time.
Yeah, no, they were like lightning in a bottle and kept it going too for quite a few years. It really speaks to, I think, like the demand and the hunger and the appetite of like your generation at the time for Nirvana.
A lot should be said too of when Dave Grohl joined Nirvana, they became a different band. During the Bleach album, which had their original drummer on there, they didn't have the same sound. Dave Grohl really made it a big sound and just expanded the band. And again, a lot of that had to do with his drumming. He was doing disco drumming. He was borrowing a lot of drumming just from the disco era, and he made it sound so big that Nirvana got noticed right away. Their sound changed so much when Dave Grohl showed up.
Yeah, I've seen the clip of Dave Grohl like talking about how much disco influenced him, and he like showed the similarities between like his drum beats and disco beats. So it was really cool to see him pay homage to like disco and just straight up acknowledge like, yes, I was heavily influenced by this genre and I really appreciate it. That's always nice to see.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch about, and we'll move on, and I've been thinking about this, why we're so miserable. Why did a song like this became a hit? This was a huge hit at the time too. And it's a very dark song, and it's a very weird song to be a really global hit. I think what we were sort of understanding was that from our parents' generation, which was like the hippie love, love and peace, 60s generation, where they thought they were changing the world, and they really didn't. They changed it for like a little bit, but everything just sort of went back to normal. So I think when we were coming around and growing up in our 20s, we were just cynical. We were so cynical about everything, and we sort of understood that no matter what we did, nothing really mattered all that much. And I think we were just so cynical, and we knew we couldn't change the world, so we had to just do our own thing. And the slacker generation sort of happened because we knew that nothing we could do was going to do anything. The world was still going to be the same no matter what we did. So you have this slacker generation that gets very much associated with Generation X and, smoking a lot of pot and that kind of stuff. So I think all that sort of got wound up in this era. And for those grunge eras, like from 1991 to about 1994, it was just the perfect culmination of everything that was happening to Generation X. I hope that makes any sense. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. Yeah,
it does. But and what I found really interesting in doing this, these last few episodes where you talk about your generation, it's really illustrated to me like the cyclical nature of these things, because I feel like Gen Z, my generation, can relate in a lot of ways with the things you say. It seems very similar to my lived experiences. And the millennial generation, which sits in the middle of us, sounds more like what you just described from the 60s, right? Like, thinking they're changing the world, like really go-getters, bit more like have the sense of like they want to just impart positive change, not as cynical, more faith in institutions.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really interesting to me, that nature of it.
Well, your generation are raised by Gen X parents, right? Like your dad, even though he's a few years older than me, is just on the cusp of Gen X, right? So you were raised by Gen X. So you're raised by not so much your dad. I don't think your dad was ever fit in this category, but just in general, Gen X were raising kids just angry and just upset about everything. So maybe that got passed on to you guys. Yeah,
maybe. Or just the way that like conditions, like global conditions and news and global events have really shaped our lives. I think that's played a big influence.
Yeah. And in the global era that we're sort of in now, where news travels quicker than it ever has before, and not only is there 24-hour news channels, which is sort of started in my youth, you now have 24-hour social media. So you're not getting news broadcast from a certain point of view. You're getting news broadcast from every point of view to, and to points of view that you vehemently probably disagree with, just so the algorithm keeps you on social media longer.
Sure. Yeah.
So your generation is getting it from every angle, and it's going to be interesting to see how you guys turn out. Well,
when Russia started their invasion of Ukraine, I was watching like missile strikes like minutes after they were happening across the globe in the Ukraine, right? Like I was watching all of these military actions play out essentially in real time.
Yep.
And that's sort of the norm now. The same thing with,
Yeah.
what's been happening in Gaza. Like
Yep.
we're seeing all of that in real time, and it's really something, and it's something that previous generations haven't experienced because
Yeah.
of the new advent of social media.
That all started with CNN in 1990. I'm going to say 92, when the first Gulf War started. They had reporters in Kuwait or Baghdad. I can't remember where it was. And they were reporting live on air on CNN as bombs were falling around them. And that's really that genre, or that era, is really what made CNN the news channel it became, is because they were able to report, because they were one of the first 24-hour news stations. They were able to report bombs falling as they were happening live on TV, and people were glued to CNN. So that started I'm going to say it was 91, 92 when that things all started.
There you go. It's all a cycle. Time is a flat circle.
It is indeed. Yeah. Again, yeah, like I said, Nirvana were one of those special bands. If Kurt Cobain had survived, I don't know if they had it. They might have had another album in them. I don't know if they would have lasted for very long. I think they were just the perfect, 2-3 album band. And we did get the 2 albums, and we got a lot of B-sides and a lot of live albums subsequently after his death. So I think they were just that perfect band that lasted for that perfect amount of time.
Yeah. And I have a question for you. And this is something I was going to bring up later in the show, but our conversation is kind of lent to bringing it up now. Have you seen the movie Sinners yet?
That's the one that's out right now about vampires.
Yeah, I take it you haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen ads for it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, so first of all, it's an incredible movie. Go see it. You will love it. It's amazing. And see it in the biggest screen possible. Like if you have an IMAX theater near you, definitely see it in IMAX. Yeah. But anyway, music, and in particular blues music, plays a very prominent role in Sinners. Mm-hmm. The director of Sinners, Ryan Coogler, great director. Yep. He's been doing a lot of press, obviously, for the movie. And I saw a clip of him speaking on a podcast this past week. He, while he was doing post-production on Sinners, he was in the studio with his longtime composer partner, Ludwig Göransson. Mm-hmm. And he said, Ludwig, I've been listening to so much blues recently, I'm sick of blues, but I want music that's similar to it, similar vibe that I've never heard before. And his composer said, why don't you listen to some grunge music? Mm-hmm. And Ryan Coogler, apparently huge grunge guy now. Yeah. And he was fascinated by the similarities between blues and grunge. So I thought you might find that interesting.
Well, grunge music is very simple music. It's just really loud and distorted, right? It's not complicated. You can have some complicated musicians, as much as I don't like them, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are fantastic musicians. I don't like their music, but they're fantastic musicians. But they're more on the funk sort of pop side. But you look at Pearl Jam, there's some really good musicians there, but grunge technically is quite simple. It gets its sort of roots from punk rock and sort of classic rock. It's sort of a mixture of that. So yeah, I can totally see why he would think that.
I think also just the themes that are inherent to those genres, right? Like blues is very much the lyrics and themes of blues music are born out of the conditions that the blues artists were living in and the oppression they were experiencing.
Yep.
Slavery, grunge is also slavery, Jim Crow, etc. Yeah. Grunge, while often made by white men who were not experiencing the same level of oppression, is still dealing with very deeply personal themes, a lot of just anger and sadness and distrust. So
desolation.
I thought it was a really interesting point of comparison.
Yeah, Elvis Costello, who's a famous singer from England, described grunge music as "Mommy, I wet myself again." That's how he describes grunge music, which I always thought was pretty funny.
That is funny. That is a funny one.
I like that one. Yeah. I love this song too. I kind of figured you would. It's just one of those classic grunge songs from 1991, 92.
Yeah, great one. Thanks for letting me talk about it, because I really do like this one.
All right, now for something completely different. Talk about your song.
All right, this week I got you to listen to the track For the Cold Country. It's brand new song from the band Black Country New Road and their third album, which is just released, titled Forever How Long. It's it's quite the song. Very Black Country New Road. We've featured them before on the show quite a while ago. So we're circling back, and why don't we just hit play on For the Cold Country. So we did Black Country New Road a while ago. I think we did Concord from that, their second album, which you did like. Did you like For the Cold Country? Did you enjoy the song?
I don't know. I really don't know. It is... Yeah. I cannot tell you what genre of music this is. I can't. I just, for the life of me, I don't know what this is. It's so weird. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's a lovely song. It builds nicely. It's an odd song. It's a great Sunday morning song. Maybe you're cleaning the house and you want to listen to it. I can hear at the end, I can hear a little bit of Queen. I can hear a little bit of Radiohead. But I don't know what this is. Can you explain it to me?
No, yeah. I think you have a perfect analysis. And that really tracks for Black Country New Road.
Okay.
This band is like, they've always been esoteric, I think is a good way to put it.
Yeah, okay.
They've always been that way. And their first album was very much that. It was very experimental, not very accessible to the average listener, but very well received critically. And then their second album, Ants From Up There, they definitely went a bit more accessible. I think they wanted to make some money for once. I read that they had become obsessed with Arcade Fire during the creation of their second album, and they were just
I can hear Arcade Fire in this too.
Yeah, they just took a huge liking to Arcade Fire and listening to it constantly. And at one point, their former lead singer said, "If we can be as big as Arcade Fire, like, we're happy. We just want to be like them."
Yeah, there's a lot of Neon Bible on this now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I think that those are very clear influences for sure. Yep. And then where this band gets interesting is they were really iconic or known for their lead singer, Isaac Wood, and his super melodramatic vocals and his really just depressing but super clever writing style. And he left the band 4 days prior to the release of their second album, just for mental health reasons.
Sure.
And there was a lot of people saying, well, the band's finished without Isaac. Like, that's it, the band's done. Because he was the iconic frontman, his lyrics were so important, his voice was so distinct. And then they come out with this album, 2.5 years post Isaac leaving. They didn't bring in any new lead singer. They just split up the duties among members of the band. And I love the brand new album. I'll put my hand on my chest and say I think it stands up there with the Isaac Wood material, but it's a very tightly contested thing. And I'm sure that you have seen examples of this in bands before when they switch singers out.
Yeah. You know, here's something funny. When listening to the song, I have no idea what the lyrics were. I could not discern a single word. I wasn't even sure when I first heard it if it was in English. And I was watching it on YouTube, and I was like, I'm going to put the captions on because I want to see what the hell is being said. And the captions were in Japanese, which I thought was pretty funny. I was like, I know they're not I think it was Japanese. It was, I don't think it was Chinese. I think it was Japanese. And I know they're not a Japanese band, so I thought that was pretty conscious of them to do. So I'll give it up to them. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a very poetic song in particular. This one is very poetic, and a lot of medieval themes and stuff happening in the lyrics.
I did look up the lyrics afterwards. Yeah,
one critic called it like a medievalist saga or a medievalist epic,
Yeah.
which I thought was a fun way to describe it. Uh, yeah, it's just so much happening on this song. Like it, it's post rock at times. Like
Yeah.
there's this orchestral crescendo that it seems like they're just jamming and just going insane. Like, and you can't believe they actually managed to like capture lightning in a bottle and record it. But then one of the band's members said that it took them 2 years to write this song. Like they wrote and recorded the song over a 2-year period. That's how much trial and error it took.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with Lithium. Lithium took a couple years. They gave up on it. They re-recorded it, like I said, when Dave Grohl came along. So sometimes these songs that we love that sound so effortless are not bad at all.
Yeah, exactly. The song sounds like an effortless mess. Like they just were jamming one night and just happened to record like 6 minutes of brilliance. But really, this is a very, very, very meticulously put together song. Like down to the minutia. And again, that is very on par for this band. Like I wouldn't say they're like a math rock band, but they're pretty close.
When you mentioned the medieval part, and I was going to mention this as well, it does have a lot of medieval origins to it, but I don't think it's the type of song that could be played on a medieval show like Game of Thrones, because while it has medieval influences there, it's not a medieval song. So it would sound so out of place if you would have put this on a medieval TV show or movie. It just wouldn't fit at all. But yet it would. So I don't know. I don't know if I like the song. I'm in awe of it. I think it's done remarkably well, but I don't know if I like it.
And you know what? That is a perfectly valid read of this song. And I think most of this band's material, they have a very, very strong cult following. Like I said, to the point where when the lead singer left, people were vehemently opposed to them even continuing. So really polarizing band. They have a lot of fans that really love them, and they get tons of critical acclaim. But despite all of that, like, you still are left with that feeling of what am I really listening to here?
Yeah. There's another band that I've never gotten into that's sort of a critical darling and a hipster darling called the Neutral Milk Hotel. And people love this band. I just could never get into them. I don't know if this band sort of fits that role for me, where I can see why people like them. I just don't know if I can like them.
Yeah. I honestly, I really like the Neutral Milk Hotel comparison for this band.
Yep.
Just even in terms of sound, and also how much critics love them.
Yeah.
I think for me, what it is with this band is so many of their songs are so long. Like almost all of their songs are 5 minutes plus. And I really struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
At least what I'll say with Black Country New Road is they always change things up. Like no minute of a song is ever really the same as the next minute. So that at least keeps me on my toes when I'm listening.
Right.
But I don't do well with long songs and a bunch of them one after another. I struggle with sometimes.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's why I mentioned it'd be a good Sunday morning song when you're sort of getting up, maybe making your cup of coffee and it's just sort of playing in the background, or you're cleaning your house and you just want to listen to something to sort of, pass the time like that. I think it'd be a great time to listen to this. I don't know if I could listen to this song if I was upset or if I was happy or if I was joyful. I don't know if it would fit any mood like that. Like I said, I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I listen to Black Country New Road almost exclusively in the form of full albums.
Yeah.
It's rare that I just go to play one song by them.
Sure.
So I like running through their albums, and typically when driving, like if I'm driving somewhere and I'm in the mood, I'll just pick one of their albums and throw it on. Or like you said, if I'm like puttering around the house and I know I have the time to listen to a whole album, then I'll throw one of them on, just because then I don't have to worry about how long the songs are. I'm just locked in for the album. Right.
Exactly right. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. It's Yeah, this one confounded me. I don't know yet. I don't know if I like it yet. This is probably
Well,
the first time this has happened.
I'm glad that I could confound you,
Yeah.
because that's I think that's it's fun when music does that to us. I
Yeah.
think,
No,
because it
it's
means that
great.
we're being challenged by something. I
Absolutely.
think it's
And
great.
and why did we start this podcast? Remember, I reached out to you because I was so bored with the music that I was listening to that I wanted to listen to new music. And that's why I reached out to you. Even before we had the podcast, we were trading music back and forth every week. And this is a perfect example of what I wanted to hear, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something that stretches your mind a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I was so bored of the music that I was listening to. And the other good thing about this podcast, too, is that I get to listen to all these songs in a brand new way because I'm taking such a deep dive into the music and finding out so much more information that I never knew that I would have taken these songs on a very sort of passing level of just knowing the song and liking the song. That it's reinvigorated my love for a lot of the older music that I was listening to. So this has done a lot of the world of good for me. And
No,
then,
100%.
and then getting you to listen to it, whether you like the songs or not, getting you to listen to it as well has been a real joy.
100%. I couldn't really put it any better. Like, where the value of the show is, at least for me as well.
Yeah.
Like, I obviously I'm a bit of a nut about music. Like, I love it. I love listening to
As
this
am I.
stuff
Yep.
and talking about it. So it's nice to have an outlet for that.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to just explore it more and explore what I like about music
Yeah.
and open new horizons. Like,
Sure.
I gotta tell you, the past week I have almost exclusively listened to Pulp. I am
Okay.
on the
How did you
biggest
find
Pulp
This is Hardcore?
kick ever. I loved it.
Great, isn't it?
I could see why you prefer it to Different Class
It's
as an
so
album.
different. So different.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it Party Hard. I don't know if that's like a beloved song by them,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I love Party Hard. That
Yeah.
song goes. Help the Aged as well. That was a
Help the
really
Ages
good
is
one.
amazing. Yeah. I like Dishes. Dishes is
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Um,
fantastic album.
I think any lyric that starts, I'm not Jesus, but I have the same initials. Just,
Yeah,
I was like, I fell in love with that song just from that line. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good one. It's funny,
Yeah.
today I was driving. I was going to Etobicoke to play it against sports to pick up a new tennis racket. So I was on
Yeah.
Lake Shore, heading towards the Gardner, listening to, of course, Pulp, because it's almost exclusively what I've been listening to.
Hmm.
So there I am listening to, I think it was Disco 2000,
Yeah.
driving along, and I look up at a billboard along Lakeshore Boulevard, and it says Pulp, September 16th, 2025, Budweiser stage.
Nice.
So I think that's a sign from God that I have to go
You
to
have
that
to go,
concert.
man. You have to get tickets. They're fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think I might have to save my pesos and make
Yeah.
sure I go to that one.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. So it's September. Okay, cool. Yeah. That'd be a good show.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do a concert review if you get tickets.
Yeah, for sure. You can expect that. But
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, I think that's all that really needs to be said about For
Yep.
the Cold Country. Like, it's it, I think objectively, if we can be so bold as to evaluate art objectively,
Right.
it's fantastic. But how much we enjoy it, I think is up for debate. Really,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's art,
and that's
right? Like,
okay.
some people really love it. Some people like a red dot against a white background, or a red dot against like a white field. People like that kind of art. I don't, but it's in the eye of the beholder. It's in the ear of the beholder. Whatever you love, you love. Whatever you don't, you don't. It's cool.
And some people like the really classic,
Mhm.
Baroque paintings where it's like realistic and everything.
Yeah.
And I prefer photographs. So
You know what's interesting? I'm an atheist, but I love religious art. I think religious art is some of the most beautiful art. I love, the Sixtine Chapel. I love all that stuff. And I think have you been to Rome? Didn't you guys take a
I
trip to Rome?
have, yeah,
So
yeah,
I love all that art. And to me, that really moves me, which is weird because I'm an atheist, but it really does move me. And I know a lot of those times those people were painting that art because they were being paid to paint that specific thing. So it wasn't that they were painting it out of their own free will. But I love religious art. I think it's so beautiful.
yeah. A lot of it is really, really well done. I agree.
Yeah. So no, it's amazing. We really got off on a tangent there, didn't we?
We sure did. We sure did, but that's okay.
Okay. What song do you have for me for next week?
For next week, you're going to listen to the song. Oh, God, I'm blanking. Hold on. I have it up.
That's right.
Listen to the song. Okay. For next week, you're going to listen to the song Tape Runs Out by Julian Baker and Torres. You've
Okay.
heard Julian Baker before.
Yes,
I've done
yes.
her solo work.
Yep.
She's also one of the members of Boy Genius, the band. And she's just released a, believe it or not, country album with the artist Torres. So you're going to listen to Tape Runs Out.
Cool. Looking forward to that. We're going to listen to the B-52s and a song called Love Shack. Now, I've gotten you to listen to another B-52 song earlier called Rock Lobster, which is a really odd song. But this time we're going to listen to Love Shack by the B-52s.
Awesome. Love this one.
Cool. All right. Let's do This Day in Music History. This is an interesting one. On this date, April 27, 1976. And I'm going to get what you think was going on here. A customs officer on a train at the Russian-Polish border detained David Bowie after Nazi books and mementos were found in his luggage. Bowie claimed that the material was being used for research on a movie project about Nazi propaganda leader Joseph Goebbels. What do you think was going on here? This is weird, isn't it?
Are you asking if I think Bowie was a Nazi?
Well, I know he wasn't a Nazi, but he also thought he was from outer space. So, the 76 was a weird time for Bowie. He was on a lot of drugs, or he was coming off drugs. I can't remember if he was sober at this point. But yeah, 76 was a weird period. I could totally see him really going down a dark road. So I don't know. I don't know if he was telling the truth, if he was doing research, or if he was just interested in Nazis at this point in his career.
Listen, he may have just been taking a personal interest in the works of the Nazi Party. Who knows? Who knows? It's a little strange, but I think we can agree on that.
I told you the story how I was banned off Facebook for 2 days, didn't
I? I don't know. Have you?
Yeah. Well, it was one of the times I was visiting. I live in Australia and Nick's in Canada, so it was one of the times I was going to take a flight home, and I wanted to listen to. I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and I wanted to listen to an audiobook. So I put a poll up on my Facebook saying the two books that I was interested in reading was the history of World War II or the history of Nazism. And afterwards, someone goes, "What book did you decide to go with?" And I wrote in the thing, "I'm going with the Nazis." And I was banned on Facebook for 2 days.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. You essentially came out as pro-Nazi there,
right? And then there was a button. There was like, "Would you like us to look into this further? Is there more context?" I'm like, "Yes, there is more context." So then I got an apology from Facebook saying, "Yeah, there's definitely more context in this ban." So I was unbanned from Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good, because you don't want that in your file, your online file, that you were banned from Facebook for some Nazi sympathies.
We don't want Nazi sympathies. I have no sympathy for the Nazis, but
as do I.
Yeah, that's what David Bowie was stopped on a Polish train for. So let's listen to Heroes, which is a song specifically written about the Berlin Wall from David Bowie. Darren, just All right, so what are you packing for your road trip? Have you packed everything you need?
Oh God, no. That's that's a day before activity for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, are you renting a car? Are you taking your dad's car? What are you doing?
Yeah, we're taking my dad's car.
Okay, so just make sure you have enough tunes. Yeah, that's the most important bit.
That is the most important bit. You are right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope you have a very safe drive. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, so we won't be recording next week. So we'll be with you guys in a couple of weeks. And can't wait to hear about all your trip.
Yes. Yeah, should be good. I'm excited to give a recap.
Yeah. Our independent artist this week is Dublin Rose. We've played Dublin Rose before. How I heard her music is I was photographing an event here at a university here in Brisbane, and she was playing live, and I really loved the sound of her voice, and I loved her music. And I approached her afterwards, and I got her information and asked if we could play some of her music on the podcast. And she has released a brand new single called 10,000 Days. It's a very dreamy song, and I really, really dig it. The song's about a chapter in your life that is coming to an end, but you're still trying to hold on to it and not allowing it to come to an end. So thank you very much for letting us play your song, Dublin Rose. And Nick, we're going to talk to you next week.
You got it.
Looking up at the stars, I know this will be the final time. Water fills my eyes, seems no one cares as much as me. It's just I've become so happy, and I'm scared it all might fade away. But at least I've got today. At least I've got today, because I would cross the ocean to go back to these moments and repeat in slow motion. I would wait 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay. Is this the only chance? I'll never be this young again. I'm scared of moving forward. I like right where I am, because someday I would cross the ocean to go back to these moments and repeat in slow motion. I would wait 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay. You'd stay. You'd stay. 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay. What if this turns out to be the ending? Looking down the stairs, we finished ascending. It's hard to see you go, but at least I'll know you've got so much to do and much more to say. Hope everything goes your way. You're an angel, you're a star. You're better than me by far, but still here you are waiting for me. And here I'll be waiting for you, because I would cross the ocean to go back to these moments and repeat in slow motion. I would wait 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay. You'd stay. You'd stay. 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay, because I 10,000 days for you to say you'd stay. You'd stay.
You've been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.